um, amongst many. And thank you for responding to my question. If there's something, in other words, that you would want me to talk about or discuss and give some enlightenment about in the form of a video, I ask you to let me know. And in true fashion, people responded. So, one individual asked me about a martial arts related subject of how should a martial arts practitioner train? Should they lift with light weights and do less cardio, or should they do more cardio and less weights? Well, I want to say that that's a loaded question, but it's really not. I'll just put it in this manner. We're all different. It depends on what your journey as a martial artist is. Are you a martial artist that is going to be or is a competitor in sports events? And are you a martial artist that is a short individual, a medium built individual, or a very tall individual? Because these are going to be the determining factors as to the cardio exercises and the weight exercises. So, some people feel comfortable having a substantial amount of weight on them, giving them an advantage in their minds. I personally, being a medium built man, I don't believe that I should carry, or anyone around my height that's about 5'9", 9.5", should walk around being 250 pounds or more. Not at my height. I weigh approximately 160. So somewhere around my height, light weights, if I were to use weights. I've never personally ever used weights in martial arts in my entire career. Now, we had weights in our training hall, and I would move them from one part of the gym to the other by rolling them or what have you. But I've never bench pressed and done any curls with heavy weights. Never done that. And if you have seen me without my shirt on before, or a muscle shirt on, you can tell I'm built pretty good for a guy my age and my stature. But anyway, with that said, I personally don't believe that you should have too much in the way of heavy weights when you're training as a martial artist, even from a sport standpoint. Because if you want to have speed, and very good to great speed, if you have too much in the way of muscle mass, it's going to impede your speed. It's going to slow you down, in other words. Now, Michael Jai White, the actor and martial artist, he may be an exception on some level, but I still have my feelings about someone being that big, that bulky, because you have a limited amount of body range or range of motion with your upper body when you're carrying all of these muscles in excess. Now, it would be different if you were just simply a bodybuilder per se. But when we start talking about martial arts, we're talking about someone who's supposed to have a certain set of skills. You're supposed to have a certain amount of agility, mobility, flexibility. And when you add all of the extra weight to your upper body, especially your upper body, it's going to hinder you in or limit the amount of motion that you have. It's going to limit your speed as well. Not to say that you won't be fast, it's going to limit it. So, to answer the question, my friend, it depends on what you want as a martial artist. If you're a competitor, lightweights for speed. Even if you are not a competitor, and let's say you are a person that does security, or you're a bouncer at a club or something like that, you might want the extra weight for that. I don't particularly like that type of occupation for myself. I've done some security before, but not that type. So that might be another option. So you might want to pick up a little bit more weight. But what you don't want is that when you are walking around, excuse the expression, and you're walking like this, your hands won't completely stand alongside your thighs or your sides, because you have all of this mass right here on either side from lifting heavy weights. That only looks good on the outside, and it might look appealing to women, but as far as being an effective martial artist, I think you're limiting yourself when you have that much weight on your body in terms of muscle mass. So my answer is light weights and more repetitions. Always remember to make sure that you get plenty rest in between your training sessions. Now on the cardio part, I don't care who you are, we all should have cardio. Fast, continuous burst of exercise. Jumping jacks, mountain climbers, squats, sprints, jumping rope, jogging, dashing, jumping up in the air, high jumps and so forth. Anything that gets your heart rate going, cardio. You should do that for 3 to 5 minutes and then take a break in between. Or you can do bursts like this, for example. You can jump rope, maybe 25 to 50 beats, stop, do some push-ups, do some quick sit-ups or crunches, jump back up and do the exercise with the jump rope again, something along that line. You want those quick bursts and a short rest in between those exercises, but you want to have cardio. But let me tell you about cardio. You will strengthen your heart by jogging and even by brisk walks, or just walking in general. You will strengthen your heart. But when you're talking about taxation of the human being or the individual in a confrontation with another human being, that's not really going to fly. The things that I just told you, the jogging and the simple walking, or the fast-paced walking, if you will. You want to have something that's really going to place a demand on your heart. That's how you build real good cardio or a strong heart. You want to stand and you want to sprint, let's say 20 yards, and then go to a jog. And then all of a sudden sprint and then go back to a jog. And as I pointed out earlier about the jump rope, you want to stand there with the jump rope. You want to start out a normal pace, for example. Speed it up for about 20 seconds and go back to the normal pace again. Always putting stress on the heart. And when I say stress, that's not negative stress. I'm saying stress. In other words, the heart is a muscle. You must remember this. In order for that muscle to be strong, you've got to use it. You've got to exercise it. This is not exercising my heart, just sitting here like this. Look, just reading things. Okay. Okay. That's not exercising my heart. My heart is an involuntary muscle, as yours is. It's going to beat regardless. But you have to exercise your heart by putting a demand on it if you want to have good cardio. You don't want to walk 2 or 3 blocks and be out of breath. That's a person who's not in good health at all as it relates to their respiratory health. You want to be able to walk several blocks without stopping. You want to be able to climb 6, 7 flights of steps without being winded. That's good cardio. As a matter of fact, that can also be one of your cardio exercises. When I used to work at VA Hospital, a friend of mine and I, on our lunch break, we would run 10 flights of steps up and run back down. Run. That was our exercise for the day. Can you get most people nowadays, middle age, not to mention in their 20s, can you get them to run 3 flights of steps up and not be devastated by it? Not anymore. There are exceptions, but most people are so sedentary in their lifestyle, they don't exercise. That includes the young. And if you look at a lot of elementary schools, you will find, or students I should say, you'll find a lot of young children from the age of 5, 6 years old up to about 14 that are really obese. Shouldn't be that way. You're supposed to be up and moving and playing and running around and frolicking just like the animals. You really should. And if a parent is allowing their children to gain that much weight, then in most instances those parents are heavy as well, or they're not thinking about those children's health as being a priority. You just can't appease them by handing them a donut and some chocolate milk and letting them go, because they're going to end up having to pay for that down the road by a visit to the hospital with some respiratory issues, some heart issues, or some gastrointestinal issues because they're eating improperly and they're eating the wrong foods or types of foods and not enough of the right foods. Well, getting back to the original premise of the video on the martial arts about cardio, you should always have cardio in your regimen. And on the weights again, I suggest light weights, more repetitions, as opposed to heavy weights. Okay? But if you are going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger or Lou Ferrigno or Frank Zane or one of those guys, then by all means, pump up. That was it, and that was all. I hope that this was of benefit to most. I'm out.